let's talk about how do you capture prompts in your organization, because you don't necessarily you're not gonna use maybe a reader tool in your organization, for official work processes. So as you're building a Copilot community, we talked about this in our Teams Nation presentation last month. There's a couple of different ways to create communities, and two of the biggest ones for an enterprise in the Microsoft space is to use either Microsoft Teams or to use Viva Engage communities. And the one that you use, it just kind of depends on um, what the size of the audience, the maturity of the audience, how far along in your Copilot journey that you are. But for smaller organizations and smaller communities, I'm a big advocate of Microsoft Teams. We use a Microsoft Teams to create Copilot communities in the healthcare environment that I work in, and that allows us to create a central place to onboard people, to provide resources for those people that are onboarding and get them up to speed. A central place to host meetings and meeting content and announce upcoming meetings that we're going to have. A central place for like troubleshooting, but it also gives us a place to have conversations around specific Copilot experiences, including sharing prompts that are working and that we've gotten great results from. And we can have follow up conversations and we can learn some of the ROI around that. But we can also have like a success stories where people can highlight how they've been able to create some Copilot processes that are really, really powerful. Um, and maybe other people in the organization can take inspiration from that. So I'm a big advocate of using these communities as a way to gather these prompts and these success stories. That being said, I don't like having to sort through the conversations in order to find that. So I would come in and say, okay, this is the prompt, and I would just grab that. And in my case, I'm going to head over to my Loop workspace. Just within there, I'm going to go ahead and drop that prompt in. So this one's kind of a cross-platform experience. So this one might be working with Teams and Outlook. So I might want to have like multiple choices in there, but I'm going to put it in that notebook so that I can get back to it pretty quickly. But one of the ways that we share prompts and gather them is through either Microsoft Teams or Viva Engage or workshops, or somebody shares it in the chat as like part of a meeting. And now we
Mhm.
can start putting that into List or Loop, and we can start publishing it to our users. So there's a manual effort that goes along with that, but I think the outcome is going to be very high for the return that you're going to get off of that when you
Mhm.
start consolidating these prompts into a single place.
Yeah, that's something we're going to start doing in my community as well as the prompt of the week. Um, where I'm doing my first live stream with our product manager Tom next week. That's called like "What's New and Next" with Copilot. We're talking about like the latest and greatest. As a segment of that show, we're going to do a prompt of the month, and it's going to be, hey, here's our favorite prompt, how it's useful, what it, what the concepts of prompt engineering are at play, right? So we kind of analyze the prompt and talk about like what makes it a good prompt, and then we're going to basically do a call to action and say, hey, community, what we want you to nominate the next prompt of the month, right? And hopefully get like a thread going on Viva Engage that's like, hey, this is what I'm using. It's like my silver bullet of a prompt, and we'll kind of pick like the top one out of that and share the next prompt of the month. So that's a way you get your community involved and you kind of keep this momentum going, as you were talking about. Like you're doing it, inside of your team's community. We're going to be doing it through Viva live stream.
Yep.
So yeah, cool example for sure. I like your like screenshots of the output,
Hmm.
kind of sharing like what it looks like. That makes it a little bit more real than like, here's the text of the prompt, just go try it. Um, yeah, seeing something work kind of, I think, like alleviates some people's like concerns about trying something new. If they like can see what it looked like for somebody else, they're like not afraid to try it. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I like to show the screenshot version of it for a lot of those reasons, but also putting a
Mhm.
visual to something tends to gather more attention and click throughs. That's why things like carousels on LinkedIn work so well, and why I'm exploring those and like seeing what they can do. Um,
Mhm.
but the main thing I think to take away from this section is share your prompts, have
Mhm.
conversations around it, and like I've got a few different examples through the various channels here that have I've kind of like mocked up. Um, just to like give you some examples. So, for example, one of my colleagues said that using Copilot to help them confirm a roster with over 100 people and cross-referencing against
Mhm.
attendance list was like a huge time saver for them. They didn't have to do it manually, figure out how to sort it in Excel. Copilot was able to do that in a matter of seconds for them. Get chat highlights. So you can get highlights inside of from Microsoft Teams in a chat for like up to 30 days. And these are some of the parameters that are around that. Sharing that information and then a follow up prompt that actually uses that can be a big driver of user adoption and
Yeah.
showcasing what you can do with it. Let's see. I didn't fill out all these channels with demo data. I only did like a couple. Let's see, resources, providing resources in the community, but also if that resource had some prompts that were really high value, like at a glance people can say, hey, John and Andy were talking about this, oh, and here's a prompt that they use, that's pretty cool. Maybe I should go and check that out. And now you're giving a link and providing some context like around that. And then your
Mhm.
success stories, sharing a success story, but including the prompt that you use as part of that can really start to inspire some people to like really kickstart their journey with Copilot and prompting.
Mhm. One idea that came in my mind, I just put in the chat to get it out of my brain, is if you're using Viva Engage like we are, you could do hashtag share a prompt, and that's another way that like if you get people to kind of tag things, or you, the owner, you tag like if somebody shares something that is a prompt, then they could like kind of like roll up under that topic and you could see all the prompts in a list. And that's a way to like very loosely, organically start building a list of prompts that then kind of go back to our concept of organization, right? Like this could be like one of your sources that you guys start pulling from and putting into your proper library. But that's another idea. Like we had, and when we were doing it in Microsoft Teams, we made a channel called Share a Prompt, and it had the prompt library as a tab in it. What we ended up doing though was like we ended up moving over to Viva Engage, so now we're using like a topic for that instead. Because yeah, you don't have channels, so.
Yeah, and I think there's advantages to both of those different applications. It just depends on the
Mhm.
audience and how big it actually gets. But I just really want to encourage people to share your prompts, share them with other people, find a way to share it, whether it's in OneNote, in Microsoft List, in Microsoft
Mhm.
Loop, whether it's a custom app like the Prompt Buddy, or another mechanism. I think sharing it just kind of helps people to understand how to talk to Copilot or other generative AI, and you can really start
Yeah.
to get some really cool outcomes.